Great. Well, hi everyone, and thank you, TTG, for having us here to talk about Ontario. So I'm just going to run through our brief training presentation and let me know if you've got any questions in the chat. And please do enter the polls as and when you hear little facts pop up. Okay, so starting off with a couple of fast facts about Ontario. So it is the second largest province in Canada. To give you an idea of the big size of this, it's actually bigger than France and Spain combined. So we're pretty huge. And we are home to Ottawa, which is the capital city, and also Toronto, which is Canada's largest city and most multicultural city. And of course, the iconic Niagara Falls. So Ontario's name comes from an indigenous word meaning land of shining waters, which is pretty appropriate considering we have over 250,000 lakes and rivers in the province. So Ontario really is the perfect four-season destination. Whichever time of year you decide to visit, you will see a beautiful side to Ontario. All a little bit different from each other. So in the spring, we have an abundance of flowers in bloom, so the cherry blossoms, and we also have the famous Tulip Festival in Ottawa. Then summer is the perfect time for outdoor adventure. There's an abundance of outdoor activities. Many of them are water-based, which are the perfect activity to do while you're out in Ontario. And then autumn is famous for our beautiful fall colours. So as you can see from this picture here, it's just an explosion of beautiful oranges, reds and greens, and has become a pretty kind of famous image of Ontario. And then in the winter seasons, Ontario really does become a winter wonderland. In this picture here, you can see the Rideau Canal, which actually turns into the largest ice skating rink in the world every winter, and commuters even skate to work. So in terms of where to go, there are so many different options of where to go in Ontario, each of them offering an abundance of activities, hotel options, restaurants, and experiences. But I'm just going to run you through the typical circle route that we would recommend, which kind of starts in Toronto, moves down to Niagara Falls, then heads north a little bit towards Algonquin, and then goes round to Ottawa, Kingston, before ending in Toronto again. So starting off strong with Toronto, which is Canada's largest and most multicultural city. There's also amazing airlift into Toronto, so from London Gatwick, London Heathrow, Manchester, Glasgow, and Edinburgh, all offering flights to Toronto. So Toronto really is made up of so many distinctive, multicultural and unique neighborhoods. So the downtown financial district where you can find lots of amazing shops and restaurants, and the CN Tower. And you've got Kensington Market, which is sort of more bohemian and has lots of market stalls and boutiques. And you've also got an array of many other multicultural neighborhoods, such as Little Italy, Chinatown, Japantown, and many, many more. So all of these different cultures coming together has resulted in a really incredible range of culinary experiences. And in fact, in 2022, Toronto received the first ever Michelin Guide in Canada, which was long overdue, but an amazing recognition of the incredible culinary experiences and restaurants that we have on offer. So in terms of day trip activities, Toronto Island is a great option. It's just a short ferry ride across to the 15 islands, and an amazing day trip in the summer. You can spend the day strolling around or having a bike tour of the islands and trying out lots of different activities. So Toronto really is a shopper's paradise. There is so many different options, from your huge department stores and shopping centres such as Eaton Square, to Bloor Yorkville area, which has got some very high-end boutiques, to all of the various markets around. And in Christmas, the Distillery District hosts the Distillery Winter Village every year, which is really popular and has got some lovely stalls and eateries and lots of different Christmassy experiences. And we've also got The Path, which is a super unique shopping experience. It's an underground shopping centre, and it's got loads of stores, restaurants, and even its own subway. And a great way to kind of explore all of what Toronto has to offer is by doing one of the many tours on offer. So whether you prefer a walking tour, a sightseeing bus tour, or a boat tour, there's lots to choose from. And we also offer a number of different bucket list experiences, such as the Edge Walk at the top of the CN Tower, which you can see here. Now, it's definitely not for the faint-hearted, but it's a super thrilling activity and definitely one for those adventure seekers. In terms of other cultural attractions in Toronto, you've got a number of different museums, such as the Royal Ontario Museum, and loads of beautiful art galleries showcasing unique exhibitions. And there's also lots of family-friendly activities too, such as the Ripley's Aquarium of Canada, where you can see thousands of different aquatic animals. You've got the Hockey Hall of Fame, which is dedicated to the history of hockey in Canada. And you've also got science centres and lots of different interactive museums. And I know I just touched on the Hockey Hall of Fame, but the sports scene is huge in Toronto. So we are home to Canada's team, which is the Toronto Maple Leafs. And really, a trip to Toronto isn't complete without having a big game involved. And we've also got an incredible range of hotels in Toronto. So one of the most famous is the Fairmont Royal York. This is where lots of celebrities stay, and even Harry Styles, I believe. But yeah, Toronto has just got so much to offer, even more than I've just described. And then a short hour and a half journey away from Toronto is the Niagara Falls, which is actually the premier honeymoon destination in the world, if you didn't know that already, and truly a bucket list experience for every traveller going to Ontario. And we wouldn't even just recommend it as a day trip, contrary to popular belief. There's lots of amazing accommodation options here, and it's got lots of other activities outside the falls, which we'll explore in a little bit. So there's lots of different ways to experience the falls itself, whether that's a helicopter tour across the falls, or whether you'd rather see it from a different perspective and do Journey Behind the Falls, where you can kind of get right up close to the falls with a water poncho. And there's even a zip lining experiences for those thrill seekers among you. There's a number of different things to do outside of the falls, lots of different cultural experiences. So I think it's mentioned on this slide, Niagara Park's power station has recently been renovated, and there's lots of kind of historic and cultural attractions there. And they even have a big light show at night, which is super interactive and immersive. There's indoor water parks and lots of shopping opportunities as well. So a short journey away from Niagara Falls is Niagara-on-the-Lake, which is a beautiful town, and we would really suggest that to those people that maybe don't want to stay in Niagara Falls itself, as it can be quite touristy, but would like a more kind of boutique inn option a short distance away. So the Heritage Shopping District in Niagara-on-the-Lake is the perfect way to spend the day, walking around and exploring all the different boutiques, galleries, restaurants. And it's really, just a charming town, and everyone always loves stopping by Niagara-on-the-Lake. There's also over 100 wineries in the Niagara Peninsula, so it's a great way to spend an afternoon going on a wine tasting tour and trying our signature variety ice wine. And there's also lots of boutique hotels, country inns, and gorgeous restaurants, all part of the wineries. So Blue Mountain is the perfect kind of all-season resort area, and it's just 2 hours away from Toronto. This is where it is up there. And it really just offers the most incredible array of activities. Most of them are all outdoors. So you've got scenic caves adventures, you've got treetop trails, there's even an apple pie trail, beautiful hiking adventures, and there is a Scandinave spa for the adults who need to relax after a very long day. And then in the winter, it actually turns into its own ski resort. It's more recommended for kind of beginners and intermediate skiers. But yeah, a really lovely way to spend a couple of days as part of an Ontario tour. And there's lots of other experiences there too, like skating and an illumination trail every night. And Blue Mountain is the perfect place to base yourself to discover the rest of Georgian Bay, which is a beautiful area of lakes and the perfect place to do some outdoor activities such as kayaking, paddleboarding, canoeing, swimming, you name it. So moving on a little bit further north is Muskoka, which is a really kind of prestigious region in Ontario. Think Toronto's answer to the Hamptons. It's famous for its gorgeous accommodation options and also its steamboats. So that's where we are up here. So in Muskoka, as I mentioned, you've got some incredible resorts. So this one pictured here is the JW Marriott, and it really has everything you need all in one place. So it's got restaurant options, shopping options, and lots of outdoor activities too. There's also an amazing arts and culture scene here. So lots of artisan studios, small galleries, restaurants, bistros, craft breweries. It's a really beautiful place. And as I mentioned, perfect place to spend a day doing lots of outdoor activities. So whether that's zip lining, horse riding, ATV trails, and in the winter you could try cross-country skiing or dog sledding for the ultimate Canadian experience. So Algonquin Provincial Park is one of Canada's oldest parks and truly beautiful, especially in the fall seasons. It really is the place to go to just completely escape civilization and just be completely immersed in nature. You may well not see anyone else on your trip in Algonquin, but you'll see lots of beautiful wildlife and nature. You might even spot a moose. And there's just a couple of tranquil rustic lodges here in terms of accommodation. So for that perfect kind of campfire experience, no phones, just nature. And moving on to our capital city of Ottawa, which is very historic and kind of the perfect blend of French and English culture all in one city. So that's where we are there. Yeah, as I said, it's very historical and there's lots of culture here. There's an amazing culinary scene, which includes the Bywood Market, which is one of the largest markets in Canada and is just super vibrant. Lots of boutiques and stalls and eateries. And there's also lots of year-round festivals in Ottawa, including the Canadian Tulip Festival, which happens every May and is just so beautiful. Thousands of tulips, and this tradition actually stems back to the Second World War, where the Netherlands actually gifted thousands of tulips to Ottawa as a kind of thank you gift for their help in the war. And this is still alive today and attracts loads of tourists every year. And there's lots of museums, galleries. A couple of the museums showcase the Indigenous experiences in Ontario. There's the Rideau Canal, which I mentioned earlier, which is part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site. And there's lots of different ways to explore the city, whether that's on a cycling tour, a hop-on, hop-off bus tour, or even on a luxury houseboat. And outside of all of these amazing places I've listed in Ontario, there is still so much more to discover. So there's Kingston, which actually used to be the capital until Queen Victoria changed it to Ottawa, which is very historic, got some beautiful architecture. And you've got the Thousand Islands, which is an amazing way to spend the day, especially in the summer. You can visit it by a guided helicopter tour or hop on a boat and just spend the day exploring and all of the little charming small towns, the food options, and the outdoor activities. So I think that's everything we've got time for. But please let me know if you've got any questions, and I hope you all enjoyed that. Okay, there is one in the chat. Is Niagara on the Lake easily accessible for non-drivers? Yes, as I said, it's a really great walkable town. So it's small enough that you can kind of explore the whole town just by walking around. You could also cycle, you could rent a bike for the day and explore the different boutiques, restaurants, and wineries that way instead. Are there any other questions? Amazing. And I see that everyone's done really well on the polls. I think we've got 100% correct answers across the board. Someone's asked, "How would you get there?" I'm assuming you mean by plane. So as I mentioned, it's Toronto is kind of the gateway into Ontario, and you can get there by Air Canada and BA have flights from London to Toronto, and from there you can either drive to all of the different areas in Ontario, or you can get regional flights. Amazing. Well, thanks everyone, and thank you for your nice comments. Feel free to reach out to our team if you have any other questions that you think of after the session. Great. Thank you.